carriers for up to half the price.
That's
Barbara?
Sorry, I was muted.
Barbara!
That's amazing.
I know, right?
Hi, enjoy the show. Snacks are right behind me.
We have snacks in Mom's purse.
Want to get away? Now you can with Southwest fares as low as $49 one way.
Lots of them.
Next week, E.T.'s kicking off season 43.
Hi, E.T.
Backstage at the VMAs, Matthew McConaughey's surprise and Kristen Cavallari's love life.
Why do you think I'm so single?
Starting Monday on E.T.
Ooh, be sure to check that one out. Now, we've got one more thing to show you before we say goodnight. Night, everybody.
Happening now.
After a slew of shootings involving San Antonio police officers, Judge Peter Sakai finally answering questions directly from the media. He tells us why it took so long and how he's planning to tackle this issue.
Just in the last 2 weeks, there have been several shootings involving San Antonio police officers. We spoke to an expert who tells us if this is a local issue or a national issue.
Some more triple-digit heat, but also rain chances soon return. We're going to focus on that in just a bit. The News at 5 starts right now.
I've heard time and time again that the reason that these individuals have committed these shootings is because of my lax bond policy. I don't have a lax bond policy because I don't require our prosecutors to recommend low bonds. I require them to use their better judgment.
Defending his office against accusations that he is partially responsible for San Antonio officers finding themselves in the line of fire. That is Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez in a media news conference about this afternoon that happened about an hour ago. Many in law enforcement have been going on the record and pointing at the DA's office as the main reason why repeat offenders are still on the streets, endangering the public. We'll have more on the DA's response to those accusations coming up in a live report at 6 o'clock. The DA not the only one talking today. They take an oath to protect and serve, but in the last 2 weeks, police have found themselves more and more on the wrong end of a gun. Bexar County Judge Peter Sakai finally answering questions himself this afternoon about that recent rash of violence against San Antonio police. KSAT has been trying to get the judge on camera to speak about this issue since last week. Once he did in a news conference this afternoon, Garrett Berger was there to hear what he had to say. Garrett, why is the judge saying it took so long to actually respond to what's been happening on San Antonio streets?
Well, Steve, that was the very first question we asked this afternoon, and he essentially said it was because he's been busy making calls and trying to get this roundtable together that's going to involve various members of law enforcement and criminal justice. But the joint announcement from him and the mayor about that event came yesterday. And it wasn't until, once again, we reached out for the 5th time earlier today that we heard that he would have any media availability. Now, 5 San Antonio police officers were shot by suspects in the span of about 12 days this month, in the past month. Another officer shot himself while police say he was chasing an armed burglary suspect. That man was later killed by police. The San Antonio police chief and Bexar County district attorney have been trading barbs over who's at fault for the suspected shooters being on the street and not in jail. Sky says he's had conversations now with the sheriff, mayor, DA, and the administrative judge of the district courts, and he wants to bring stakeholders together, including law enforcement and the courts, to talk about how to tackle this.
I'm asking people to pause. I'm asking people to be deliberative. I'm asking people to communicate. I'm asking people to collaborate. I'm asking people then to come to the table with solutions.
We still don't have an exact date on when these people may all convene, though the judge says he's going to put his attention on this after the county finishes up its budget next week. Now, it's not clear how much of the talks would be public or behind closed doors. Now, one thing the judge suggested is that the county may have gone too far in trying to reduce its jail population. You can hear more from him and from another commissioner who thinks there's an angle that people haven't been considering later on in our show at 6. Live downtown, I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Glad the county judge finally talked. Thank you, Garrett. Unusual. That's how a criminology professor describes the string of shootings of San Antonio police officers. As we've said, in the past 2 weeks, 5 officers wounded, 4 suspects shot by officers. In one case, an officer shot himself while pursuing an armed suspect. Camelia Juarez spoke to that professor about a national trend of violence against police officers.
You know, it may be an anomaly, and we hope it is.
Criminology professor Dr. Jeff Baumgartner says 5 officers shot in 2 weeks is uncommon, but it's not just San Antonio. Nationwide, there's been a rise in officers shot and killed. According to the Officer Down Memorial page, a nonprofit that tracks the officers killed in the line of duty nationwide. In 2019-2020, there were upwards of 40 officers killed by gunfire, and more recently, just over 60. Just want to mention that the officers shot in San Antonio have all survived. Baumgartner believes this uptick has a link to the George Floyd protests and what he sees as dehumanizing police officers.
People forgetting that cops have families and dreams and hopes and things just like anybody else, and that they're, you know, in most cases, doing the very best they can in a tough situation.
Baumgartner was not surprised that most of the shootings involved people with warrants or a criminal history.
The best prediction of future behavior is past behavior.
San Antonio Police Chief William McManus has said those suspects should have been locked up. But the Bexar County District Attorney has argued these cases did not have enough evidence to move forward. Baumgartner says convictions are based on proof beyond a reasonable doubt, not a perfect case.
Suddenly, cases that always flew in the past and met legal muster are suddenly being rejected, not by a judge or a jury, but by the DA. You got to ask what's going on at the DA's office.
Camelia Juarez, KSAT 12 News.
In 2 other news at 5, a 31-year-old man taken into police custody after allegedly attacking and stabbing another man at a home. The incident happened about 10:30 last night in the 300 block of Rice Road. SAPD officers say witnesses told the suspect that he was punched by the victim in the face before allegedly stabbing him in the torso. A witness called 911. When officers got to the scene, the suspect was still there. He was taken into custody without incident. The victim taken to the hospital in stable condition. Police are still investigating. On the last day of the school week, it was a little more eventful than they'd like for teachers and students and staff at Veterans Memorial High School. That campus lost water service. Parents of students at Veterans Memorial were notified of the issue through a letter. According to that letter, a water line broke this morning due to construction happening in that area. Parents were told SAWS sent a water tank to the school, hooked up to the water line to get the water flowing again. Officials say campus bathrooms remained operational and bottled water was made available to the student body as that water line break was addressed. Governor Greg Abbott's efforts to keep the controversial floating barriers in the Rio Grande already making waves. A federal appeals court granted the state an emergency stay in this case. That means the buoys stay put for now. On Wednesday, a federal judge stated the governor needed permission to install those buoys and that the state of Texas had until next Friday to move the buoys closer toward the Texas riverbank. But late yesterday, according to a filing, the injunction forcing Texas to move the barriers was stayed, quote, pending further order, end quote, of a U.S. appeals court. Updates now on 2 recent fatalities on the roadways. The Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office identifying the victims. 63-year-old Victor Culver killed a week ago today on Loop 410 when police say he was pinned by his own truck against a guardrail. Officers say witnesses told them Culver stopped on 410 near Fredericksburg, got out of his truck while it was still running. The pickup then rolled, wedging him in between his truck and a guardrail. Officers have not said why that man initially got out of the truck. A woman hit and killed while walking down Culebra Road near Hortensia Avenue has been identified as 26-year-old Desiree Estrada. She died on August 31st. Investigators say Estrada struck by a driver who did stop and called police. No charges have been filed against the driver. Police say where this accident happened, there is not a designated crosswalk. Across America now, a Georgia state judge has released the special grand jury report that led to indictments against former President Donald Trump and 18 others. It also reveals the other big-name politicians that could have been indicted. That jury recommended charges be filed against former GOP Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler of Georgia. as well as Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, to name a few. In total, the special grand jury recommended indictments against 39 people. It was ultimately the decision of the Fulton County DA to only charge 19 of those on the list. Do you remember this collapse? Well, investigators have determined structural issues are to blame for the partial collapse of a residential building in Davenport, Iowa, earlier this year. According to two engineering firms, the temporary supports installed so a wall could be repaired on this building were, quote, grossly inadequate, end quote. They say the collapse would not have happened had proper supports been used. The building's owner pleaded guilty in June to a civil violation for not maintaining safe conditions. 3 residents died in the May collapse that destroyed several apartments. A Utah mother and YouTube influencer charged with felony child abuse appearing in court today. Ruby Franke was arrested last week after authorities say her 12-year-old son escaped their home. A neighbor calling 911 when the boy appeared on his doorstep severely malnourished with lacerations. ABC's Melissa Adon has new details, including that 911 call.
Utah mom vlogger Ruby Franke appearing in court today. The mother of 6 charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse. ABC News obtaining the 911 call that led to her arrest. The caller getting emotional when he says Franke's 12-year-old son showed up at his doorstep pleading for help.
He has duct taped around each ankle. Yeah, there's sores around them. Oh, and he has them around his ankles. I mean, his wrists as well. Okay, this boy has been... This kid has obviously been... I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
Authorities sent to the Utah home of Jody Hildebrandt, Franke's business partner, which is where they found Franke's 10-year-old daughter emaciated. Hildebrandt also arrested and charged with felony child abuse. The duo accused of allegedly tying up 2 of Franke's children with duct tape and starving them. Franke's YouTube videos with millions of followers drawing scrutiny over her controversial parenting methods.
I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
ABC News obtained records showing police responded to the Franke's home more than a dozen times over the last few years, including reports of juvenile problems in 2018 and welfare checks in 2022.
So over a year ago, we started getting a few phone calls from neighbors and family that there was some things that need to be investigated.
But police saying a judge denied a search warrant to go into the home. The attorney for her husband, Kevin Franke, says that Kevin had been separated from his wife for more than a year and denies any knowledge of the alleged abuse. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
You got a couple of traffic trouble spots we want to show you on this Friday. We're going to start along I-10. I believe these are related. This is I-10 at Huebner, and you can see that there are a couple of emergency vehicles that are there. I don't know if it's a fender bender or just a car that's, having some sort of mechanical problems. This is I-10 in Huebner. Let's now go to I-10 in Wurzbach, and you can see, I believe that's the same accident we're looking at. It's also affecting the access road up above. So we're not exactly sure what is happening here, but you can see problems both on I-10 itself and on the access road at I-10 in Wurzbach. Is something to be aware of. And of course, we're going to continue to try to get some answers to exactly what's happening right now.
At least it's Friday. We have that. We tallied up another triple-digit day. And no shocker, another record high temperature today. 104 this afternoon, the record being 101. And the average high, 92. We are far from that, but we will get a little bit closer into next week. You look at the Weather Watcher temperatures. Michael's backyard, Floresville, 106. Nearby Santa Maria, 105, along with Mico. And Lavernia, Bulverde, 104. As we go through this evening, clear and, pretty warm out there for Friday Night Lights and high school football. Sunset, 7:48 p.m. That's when it's going to start feeling a bit better. By 10 o'clock, we're down to 93 degrees, southeast wind at 10 to 15. But you're going to notice that humidity tonight, that's for sure. This weekend, we have rain chances returning. We're going to talk about that along with more record heat in just a bit.
All right, thank you, Adam. Coming up after the break, it can save you time and save you money, but there's a trade-off when you use those car insurance comparison websites. What those sites get from you that makes money for them.
I'm Myra Arthur here in the newsroom, and here's what we're working on for the news at 6 o'clock today. You know, so often we hear an emotional message from a victim's family at court, but today that message came from the defendant. That's after a jury found him not guilty of murder. What he told the jury after that verdict. Plus, driving down Broadway, it is a tighter squeeze, even more so this week. 2 more additional closures along that road are now in effect through the end of the year. Some business owners are wondering how they will survive this road work, what you could expect if you're headed that way as well. All that and more today on the News at 6.
See you then. Thank you, Myra. Be honest. When's the last time you shopped around for car insurance? It's tedious. It's time consuming for sure. So comparison sites that give you a bunch of quotes may seem like the perfect solution. But hold on. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz says there are some downsides.
Nobody wants to pay too much for car insurance, so it pays to shop around, ideally once a year. But that's easier said than done. Enter car insurance quote comparison sites. They're marketed as huge time and money savers, giving quotes from several companies at one time. They do that, but there can be a trade-off.
Some of these sites, while yes, they'll save you time, will also take and share your personal information, so you need to be careful.
First, check to see if the site is licensed to even sell insurance in Texas and offer you real quotes. Just check the State Insurance Commission website. To make sure your information doesn't get sold to a marketing company or data broker, be sure to check the company's terms of service and privacy policy.
Reading all the legalese on these pages can make your head spin, so we suggest doing a word search on the page. Look for terms like sell and share.
And be prepared for a lot of emails, calls, and texts from the insurance companies that gave quotes. You usually can opt out, but often the companies don't make that easy. Finally, not all major insurance carriers will show up on quote comparison sites, so it's a good idea to get some direct quotes from them too. You should also reevaluate your policy if you're driving less than you used to, paid off your car, or if your kids are no longer driving your car. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
Take a live look outside. All right. Like you said, hey, we made it to Friday.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, don't mind the triple digits in the corner.
We're used to it by now anyway.
Yeah, true.
104. We're feeling it, yeah. But, you know, we're used to it, and we do see some changes on the horizon, so that's nice. If you're keeping tally at home, today was our 72nd 100-degree day so far this year. Let's talk about some good news. We have some rain chances back in the forecast starting tomorrow and pretty much daily thereafter. Now, don't get too excited. We're not talking anything very widespread or, you know, not everybody's going to get hit is what I should say. But isolated to widely separated rain chances each afternoon this weekend, and then again for a good portion of next week. So mostly about a 30% chance. So coverage will be fairly limited, but we could have some good soakers within some of the storms. Now, you look at the upper level high, the big blue H, still off to our west, centered over New Mexico and Arizona. And notice the steering flow aloft coming in from Oklahoma to Arkansas to Louisiana. There we have a cluster of showers and thunderstorms. I'm pointing that out because this weekend, that's going to shift westward, and we could tap in to some of that activity by tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. There's also a weak frontal boundary that'll be stalled in East Texas that'll help trigger and kickstart some of those East Texas storms. So here's our future cast, and keep in mind, this is just one essentially theoretical representation of what could happen tomorrow. But by 4 o'clock, a thunderstorm or two popping up, some heavy rain, lightning and thunder, maybe even some gusty winds. Off chance of a severe storm definitely tomorrow. The chance exists. And then by 5 o'clock, we could see a little more activity. Don't pay close attention to the exact placement, because 9 times out of 10, that's wrong anyways with these computer models. Just the mere fact that it is in line with developing some of those isolated showers and storms. Let's talk temps. 103 now, dew point is 60. Feels like 104. 104 in Castroville, 104 Bandera and Comfort. New Braunfels, 105. Same story with Pleasanton and Cotulla. Tomorrow afternoon, very similar. Trim off a degree. What's a degree amongst friends? We're not going to notice the difference. 104 downtown and Lavernia, Castroville, 104 tomorrow. Timberwood Park In Leon Springs, about 102. 30% chance of those afternoon and early evening showers Saturday and Sunday. 104 Saturday, 101 for the high on Sunday. And when you look at the rain chances just for tomorrow, and it's going to be the same on Sunday, by 4 o'clock we're up to 20%, 30% 5, 6 o'clock, all the way through 8 o'clock, and then by 10 o'clock, back to 0%. These are in line with the peak daytime heating, the diurnal convection that we see around here. By the way, record highs likely to fall both Saturday and Sunday. We'll talk about Hurricane Lee. Big hurricane coming up at 6 along with the drought monitor.
All right, thank you, Adam. Big game coverage plus the latest on UTSA and Texas State. Big matchup coming your way tomorrow. Larry will have it all coming up.
The big game and our big game coverage tonight will feature the Jefferson Mustangs versus the Sam Houston Hurricanes at the SAISD Sports Complex, a District 14-5A D2 matchup. Jefferson is 2-0 this season and 1-0 in district after beating Uvalde 25-14 in the KSAT Pigskins Classic and then Lanier 22-0 last week. The Canes now are 1-1 overall, defeating YMLA 18-12 in week 1 and then losing their district opener 21-13 to Burbank. Jeff and Sam are both ready to go.
Sam Houston, I know that they're off. They run off big plays, but I mean, when I have a team full of big players, I mean, there's nothing really compared to it, you know. I know that they're fast, but I know we're even faster. I know a lot of boys have trained this whole year for this, and yeah. And we're ready for them.
Like you said, we're 0-0. You know, we're gonna come to Sam Houston 0-0 and hope for a big victory. You know, 2-0 as Jeff. You know, like last time we've been 2-0. Starting off, it's been a long time, but it feels great. It feels great to be 2-0. Hopefully 3-0. Yes, sir.
I know they run the wing tee a lot. We're gonna stuff that definitely. They have a lot of good athletes over there. As in their number 3, their quarterback. Contain him. And we'll have a good game. Definitely looking for the dub.
Jeff, they're a really good team, disciplined. They got a really good quarterback over there.
Sam Houston versus Jefferson is our game of the week. That's tonight at 7 at the SAISD Complex. Highlights on the night beat, along with at least 14 other games. And here's the BGC road trip tonight. Just 2 games. Piper at Davenport, New Braunfels Canyon at New Braunfels. Mary will have more, but Davenport coming up at 6. Tomorrow's the big day. UTSA will host Texas State at the Alamo Dome, and San Antonio City officials are expecting at least 45,000 fans. Coach Traylor and Coach Kinney are expecting one heck of a game.
Great place to play, and that's the Riverwalk, man, in San Antonio. What a great atmosphere. This couldn't be better. I mean, GJ has done a fantastic job. He's rejuvenated a place that deserved to be rejuvenated, and it's got the makings for a lot of fun for years to come.
Really excited to go to San Antonio and another great environment on the road and try to shock the world again.
The winner gets the I-35 trophy.
I didn't know there was one.
Yep, it's a trophy game.
All right. Thanks, Larry. We'll be right back. Want to end the show with breaking news. This is a car fire at 90 and Couples, and you can still see flames are coming from the vehicle. Fire officials are on the scene. Looks like they're about to put it out, though. See you at 6.